For more than 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter in our community. From our studios in St. Clair, you're watching Focus with Paul Dingeman.
Well, hello again. It's that time of the month that lots of things are happening, and we're glad that you're along with us because we can tell you about it. Let's meet Erin Gottler. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
And Mr. Kris Paul. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
You guys are on a committee for the Marbleye Classic, which has been around 24 years. When is it? What's happening?
Well, it's next weekend, which is May 16th, Friday, and it runs to the 18th on Sunday.
Okay.
Officially, the tournament starts at 4 p.m., and fishing will continue right through the night, 24 hours a day.
24 hours?
Yeah, and we have a crew on site the whole time. You can bring your fish in and weigh it at midnight or 2 in the morning or noon or any time, right up until noon on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many participants do you normally get?
We average around 500.
500?
And those are ticket sales, most of which are anglers, but a lot of people will buy a ticket because they're $10, and we have a ton of prizes that you can win just by buying a ticket, whether you fish or not. So it creates a lot more interest and just more fun for everybody.
I've noticed that there was a tournament down in Marine City, which was an inaugural tournament for them this year. There's tournaments down in Alga. How many tournaments are up and down the river?
I don't know the exact number, but I know of probably a half a dozen walleye tournaments, and one of the oldest ones is the pickerel tournament in Algonac, which is later in the summer. May is one of the best months to fish for walleye in this area because they're biting and the weather's starting to be nice enough. So it's a good time to have a tournament. The way our tournament works, it's very I wouldn't say lackadaisical, but it's a 3-day event.
How about relaxed?
It's relaxed is a good term. So you don't have to fish every hour of the tournament. You can fish for 10 minutes or you can stay in your boat for 3 days. You can bring a fish in at any time. Some other tournaments are a little more competitive where you have a hard start and finish time and it may be a 6-hour or 8-hour tournament. You got to race back. That's not the way ours works.
This is designed to be more social.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be more community. We want to bring people in, younger anglers, more mature anglers that have been around, but they don't want to be in the heavy mess of the higher amplified tournaments.
Yep.
This is just supposed to be more enjoyable, get more people involved, get more people to City of St. Clair and up and down our river. Marysville, Port Huron, Marysville.
Well, the Boda family originally got it started, didn't they? Bill Boda, the fire chief, deceased, a great guy and a love to fish, and then his family took over after that, and you guys took over when?
Last year officially was our first year of ourselves. There's 4 of us that do a lot of the work, and it's myself and Kris.
That's every committee and every organization.
We got a lot of great people in the background.
And we have a ton of
things,
people.
So
yeah. We just kind of do the off-season stuff and make sure we're all ready to go. But there's a lot of guys and gals that come in for that weekend, and they work very hard and give up a lot of their time, and we appreciate them.
Okay, so it's going to be from May 16th through the 18th, rain or shine. Starts at 4 o'clock on the 16th. You brought along some pictures. If the guys in the control room will throw those up, we'll talk about them.
Sure.
And there they go. This is the board. Is that Dave Opplinger is the winner last year, 6 pounds, 6 ounces?
Yeah.
On May the 18th.
Yep, fishing was really good last year. A lot of guys caught a ton of fish. We didn't see really huge ones, a lot over 5 pounds, and the biggest being 6'6". It's not the smallest fish that's ever won the tournament, but typically, we like to see the 7, 8, even 9 pounders, and this year is shaping up to be a big fish year based on the reports I'm getting, and that's 25 guys, and they all get paid. And
look
there's
at the
Dave.
size of that one.
That is the winner. That's the winning fish. He's from Marine City Fisherman. I think that fish was caught in the Marine City area.
That's a real smile, too.
Yeah, well,
He's
$500 will make you smile.
So behind him is a TV. Talk to me about the TV and the bicycle. That's last year, but you got similar kind of prizes?
We do. We actually have 3 televisions this year.
Oh.
We've got a Blackstone grill. We have tons of gift certificates from all over the area. A lot of businesses supporting us, and Kris does a lot of work on the prize stuff.
So for my $10, I'm in the
That's
pool?
right. You can enter as many times you want, even if you're not going to fish. Every $10 ticket gets you into the raffle. You can win more than one time. So I think last year we had an individual that might have won 2 or 3 times. In all ages. Some of the younger kids that are in the tournament have won the electric bike last year, so he was super excited. This year we wanted to add a little bit more quantity to the prize pool, I guess I would call it, just to get some more people out. We had a tremendous amount of people there on Sunday when we were raffling them off, calling off the winners for everything.
Yeah, the harbor master was telling me today it was about 100 and 150 people.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. A bunch of advertisers or a bunch of people that supported you.
Yeah.
Jepson Car Company, which is you.
Yeah.
War Water, which is you. Talk to me about the sponsorships and how they help.
Yeah, so I'll kind of walk right from the south to the north because this is where you can get your tickets. That's
okay.
Important. And you can buy these tickets until 4 o'clock Friday if you want to fish. You can still buy raffle tickets after that at the marina or War Water. But Minix Bait down in Algonac is your spot there. In Marine City, you've got Hook One Bait and Tackle, a great sponsor of ours. They do a lot of prize stuff with us, and they sell a lot of tickets for us. Then moving into St. Clair, you've got 3 spots. You can get them at War Water, right at the harbor office. The crew down there is so helpful for us, and Dave and the crew, they're so helpful, and we thank them for that. Rude's Barbershop also sells tickets in St. Clair. In the Marysville area, you'd want to come to my dealership, which is on Gratiot, just outside of town. We've got tickets at Jepson Car Company. Then in Port Huron, we have 2 big sellers up there: Anderson Bait in the north, by the bridge, and Jay's Marine, which is on the Black River downtown by the bridge.
They're the right people to have the tickets. That's the right audience.
Yeah, and hopefully the people are going and buying a ticket, and they're getting some worms, and they're getting some hooks, and they're we have great local bait shops. All 4 of those bait shops I talked about. Great, we're lucky to have those guys in the area.
When do you have time to fish?
I do a little bit. I'll try to get out one time this weekend. I'll be doing good, maybe Saturday morning.
How about you?
Usually, like last year, we were probably out for about 3-4 weeks. This year, haven't had a chance to get out. Things are just busy. Weather hasn't cooperated on a lot of days, a lot of weird winds. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be last minute for us. We'll see what happens.
So that's quite an array there of all the caught fish.
Yeah, so those are the biggest fish in the tournament. That display case, it's a cooler. It's insulated. Somebody made that. We inherited it
years ago.
It's a work of art, and it works well. And it takes about 6 of us to move it around.
And there's a glass top to it, or plexiglass top to it, so you bring it down and
it's
keep
really
the fish nice and cold.
Yeah, so you're welcome. By later Friday, you'll start seeing some big fish come in, and then so all day Saturday and Sunday, those fish will be out. Bring the kids down and bring your visitors from out of town and see what a big walleye.
Do you see a lot of younger kids? I mean, teenagers and under?
We absolutely do. We have anglers that are in their 80s that fish and do well in the tournament, and we have a lot of kids of all ages. There's 16, 17, 8-year-olds that are fishing alone, and they're great fishermen. They've been fishing their whole lives, and then for the younger guys, the younger kids that are 17 and under, they can fish without a ticket as long as they're with somebody that has one. Yeah. And if they can bring a fish in that they caught, we give them a prize too. So we have
no matter what size.
Yep, as long as it's legal. All the rules of the tournament are based on the DNR rules. So it's 15 inches long. It has to be legally caught. The limit is 6 fish per angler, that kind of stuff.
You can't buy it at Neiman's and bring it in.
No, in the fish they do need to be alive to an extent when they come in. You can't go out and catch them this week and save it for a week. So we will check that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if I need more information, where do I go? To War Water and to your Jensen?
Any of the businesses listed. Jepson is fine, and War Water. That's where you can get tickets. We have information posted. The best spot is our Facebook page, which is St. Clair Marbleye Classic, and it's got all the rules, and you can ask questions through there, and we'll get back to you.
Yep. If you catch Mitch or Paul over at the Murphy, they're well educated on this. They've been part of this program for many, many, many years. They still are now. They're a big support, so you can stop in there, say hi to Mitch or Paul, and they can answer any questions you might have as well.
Okay. Very good. Kris, always a pleasure.
My
see
pleasure.
you on Mondays.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Nice to see you. Mr. Gottler. We'll be back with a story about what's happening at the Hillside Cemetery. They're going to have a walk there, the Genealogy and Historical I'll get that right, Historical Society, and they'll be along next. Well, we mentioned that Tracy Cedar was going to be along, and she is here to talk to us about the Hillside Cemetery Tour, sponsored by the St. Clair County Genealogical and Historical Society. Tracy, welcome back.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
You were here a couple years ago, and then I missed last year. So this is the third year for the tour? This is
the third year. Actually, it's the third year that the SCC GHS has done the tour, but the Historical Museum here in St. Clair had done it for 20, 25 years before that. We sort of adopted it from them.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, they're always looking for help and support and
definitely,
and people to volunteer, so you guys are helping them out.
Yes.
A lot.
And they help us out with research.
Oh, good.
So
good.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the St. Clair County Genealogical and Historical Society.
Yes.
What the heck is that?
So the group has been around since mid-70s, started by Marilyn Hebner. It used to be the Family History Group. Before I was a member, they changed the name. And she just was all about preserving the history and preserving the history of the people of St. Clair County.
Okay.
So the group has been very active ever since. We've got almost 70 members right now. Membership is $20 a year. We meet right here in St. Clair in the basement of the museum. We have a monthly program that is open to the public and absolutely free. And
you're located right here. So coming up on May the 17th, which is part of Be a Tourist in Your Own Town weekend, or Saturday, at 11 a.m., you're going to be at Hillside Cemetery. What's going to happen?
So at 11 o'clock, we're going to start the tour. We've identified, right now I've identified 9 stops, but there might be 10 or 11, depending on if I can get a few more volunteers to help me out or not. We're going to primarily stick to section 10 of the cemetery, which is along Palmer and where the river comes around. We're going to do a few people in section number 7. Todd Bigger from the American Legion was very generous to provide me some research and some names, and actually he's going to speak at 2 grave sites, and the one he's going to do is going to be our final stop, kind of our finale, is going to be Andrew Porter. And I think a lot of people in town know Andrew Porter. He died in Panama in a helicopter incident, and so Todd's going to speak about him, and then one other individual. I don't want to give all my names away.
How many, or do you know how many military people are buried in Hillside?
You know, that's a good question. We don't really know, and I've asked and studied that question. We've talked to the American Legion about that, and nobody really knows for sure. And since we don't have a true military section, they're all over the place.
Oh, yes, right.
And when I went to section 10, I was surprised at how many. There's some World War I, World War II, no Civil War guys. They're way up on the hill.
Right.
But how many Vietnam veterans are there? It is packed. Section 10 is packed.
Wow. Well, and I don't think that people realize what a gem Hillside Cemetery is.
Right.
They drive by it all the time, and there's thousands of bodies there.
Well, there's almost 8,000 memorials there.
8,000?
8,000 for this little town. You know, and it is beautiful, and we're fortunate that we still have a park-like cemetery.
Yes.
You know, things like trees aren't necessarily friendly to a cemetery. We have that beautiful old section up the hill, the Hopkins Mausoleum.
Right.
A lot of places don't have that, especially not in a modern cemetery.
Right.
You know, your stone can only be 36 inches high and can only have this and that. Sometimes they even specify what quarry the granite can come from.
Oh my, oh my, oh my.
So.
All right, so it's a guided tour.
Yes.
St. Clair's Honored Soldiers. You've got a lot of sponsors.
Yes.
Cargill, of course, is always standing by.
Oh, definitely.
Ainsworth, Jones Monument, the Field House up in Marysville, Pollock Randall, Lincoln Granite.
Yep.
Talk to me about parking.
So
there's construction going on at Clutcha.
So we can use Clutcha to the best we can. they can always park in the cemetery away from where we're going to do the tour.
Okay.
So, and since we're kind of concentrated in that section 10, that's going to be pretty easy to do. Last couple years, people have parked along Palmer and parked along St. Clair Highway there, so it's worked out just fine.
Admission charge?
No admission. It's a free event.
Free?
We do collect
There's nothing free anymore.
donations if somebody wants to do something like that. Yeah. The cemetery board is going to be there, and they're going to talk about Wreaths Across America, so they will be collecting some donations for that as well.
Wreaths Across America we covered last year, and it was very, very, very moving. And it's quite. Here's some pictures from your previous years. Yep. That's just a gorgeous shot. The colors are great, as you said. All right, and the next picture, Sharon Weber. I see some of the names we'd all know.
For sure.
Robbins. And there you are in the middle with holding the information.
So the gal there in the blue, her name is Jean, and Jean is the 3rd or 4th great granddaughter of Jonathan Barron, who was the only Revolutionary War soldier buried in St. Clair County.
Oh my, oh my.
So we're not going to visit his site this year, but next year, since it's the 250th celebration for our country, we're definitely going to visit Jonathan Barron again next year.
Okay. Well, I wonder, this must have been later in the year because the trees are all full.
Yeah, actually it was this time of year. We always do it in conjunction with Be a Tourist in Your Own Town. Yeah.
So hopefully all the trees will be out again.
Yeah,
Lots of
hope
flowers.
so.
Well, and put the slide up one more time for us there, guys, about the event. There we go. May the 17th at 11 a.m. Come on down.
Yep. If you want more information, you can check us out on Facebook. We've got almost 1,000 followers on Facebook, so please follow us on Facebook. And our website is sccghs.org. If you want to check out more about the organization.
Let's go through that again. sccghs.org.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Tracy, always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me again this year, Paul. We'll see you next year.
Yes, absolutely. Or sooner.
Or sooner.
Coming up next is a discussion about Alzheimer's and some important information for you and your family, so stay tuned.
That we did
That's
we did a
Kris.
few. That's all right.
He's struggling.
Everybody's doing
He's
their
We're back, and we're with a gentleman by the name of Ted Bott. Ted, nice to have you come to the Focus program.
Thanks for having
You
me.
are with a very important organization, which is called the ALZHEIMER'S Association of Michigan.
Yes.
And you've been going around talking to a lot of Rotary clubs throughout the state, and you got an important message, so we thought we better get you in here.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me.
Well, and you and I have been back and forth on trying to get a solid date, and finally we did. So what do you do?
Well, let me tell you a little bit why I do it first.
Yeah.
It's interesting because so many people have had exposure to Alzheimer's within their family and others. And for me, it was a very, very close friend of mine in business. He was with Ford Motor Company and I was with a supplier, and we worked very closely together. And he was a brilliant engineer. And one day we were at lunch talking about a switch, the seat switch in your car, as a matter of fact. And I put the part number out there, and he couldn't recall it. And so finally he called it that switch thing. And looking back on it, that was the beginning of it. And we went from that till he passed away only 6 years later in his 50s.
It's a slow progress.
Yeah, and it's awful. And so when we went through that, his wife and kids and myself, we didn't have any of the support mechanism we didn't know anything. So we were really fumbling in the dark, just trying to deal with it with love and compassion, but not as much understanding as what's available today. So that's why I became, after I retired, a spokesperson for ALZHEIMER'S Association.
The mission of the Alzheimer's Association?
The mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to end dementia as we know it. And so the Alzheimer's Association is the largest nonprofit organization fighting Alzheimer's in the world. As a matter of fact, we spend over $470 million a year in research.
Wow.
Trying to find, the root cause, different therapies, and a lot of that is also, beyond that, there's a lot of money that's spent just for support of people struggling with the disease as well as caregivers.
We got some slides that you brought along, and some of the facts and statistics, let's go through that.
Sure. It's amazing because there's about 7 million people right now in the U.S. that are struggling with dementia and Alzheimer's. For men, you have about a 1 in 10 chance of getting it from age 65 on. For women, it's 1 in 5.
Wow. Amazing.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And for some other ethnic minorities, it's even more so. So it's pretty pervasive. And of people that are over 65, 1 in 3 will end up actually dying from it. It kills more people than prostate and breast cancer.
People
combined.
don't realize that. They hear all the advertising and promotion about
exactly.
Prostate cancer and other cancers, so that's amazing.
Well, with mental health too, it's kind of the quiet thing, which is unfortunate, and what we're trying to do is give a voice to it. Right. Here in St. Clair County, there's 160,000 people.
Right.
20,000, or 20% of those, or 32,000, are over the age of 65.
Okay.
And statistically, at least 10% of those have dementia. That's 3,000 people in St. Clair County today that could use support and care and information. And it's 3,000 people that have a ton of caregivers.
I was just going to mention the caregiver job is a huge, huge job.
Oh, it's really something. We'll get to that in a second. Let me just kind of put a point on the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yes, please. Dementia
is just a complete collection of types of diseases of the brain that affect memory and cognitive function. There's Lewy body disease,
right,
which is more for, delusional. There's frontotemporal. There's vascular. And vascular, I think a lot of people can relate to because it has to do with blood flow to the brain. So when someone has a stroke, you can see how it affects, and that's like right now.
Right.
But there's other types that come on more slowly. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. It just happens to be one that's like 70% of all dementia.
Ted, what are some of the warning signs?
Well, some of the early warning signs, because Alzheimer's affects memory so much, that's one of the first things that a lot of people notice. Yeah. Now, we've all forgotten something, or couldn't remember a word for a second. Where are my keys is a good one, because when I come in the house, I put my keys down. If I can't find them, I know it's in 1 or 2 different places. But what happens when Alzheimer's starts to get serious is that you can't find your keys, or you can't find the person's keys. And what they've done, they've put them in a cereal box. And part of the rationale is someone's trying to take my car. I'm going to hide these to keep them safe.
Yeah.
So they put them in the Cheerios box,
yeah,
but then completely forget where they are.
Yeah.
And so that's you have to keep looking, and eyeglasses and scissors get misplaced, things like that. But general, that some of your memory issues are such that it starts to interfere with your daily life. Mm-hmm. People start using different words for things, like rather than my watch, they'll say, that hand clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're struggling for a word, after a while in social settings, you find it hard because what's happening in your brain, Alzheimer's, it just interrupts communication. Mm-hmm. So even though you're hearing the words or making it in the brain, they're not being rationalized. You can't understand it. So if you could imagine, say you're struggling with early onset dementia or Alzheimer's, you're at a graduation party or something, and people are talking, and it's awkward for you because you can't keep up, so you tend to retreat.
Yes.
And that's when people start noticing, like, gee, they're withdrawing from social connection.
Yeah.
Well, it's because, I totally would understand that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the signs are the memory or forgetting a recipe. Maybe you've made grandma's meatloaf all your life, and you go to make it, and you can't remember. There's no eggs. So when things become more than annoyances, other people notice it, and you notice it, and that's why it's really important that...
Those would be early detection key notices and kind of things.
Yeah. And that's why early detection is so important, because if you can at least get a diagnosis as soon as possible, a couple of things happen. Number one, you contact organizations like ours and start planning for the future, getting into clinical trials, getting your legal affairs in order, because that's a big deal. And getting family and caregivers and plans together. And you can't do that later on.
Right.
So I know when I turned 65, when I had my first Medicare exam, there were some cognitive tests that were done there. You know, draw a clock and make it show 10 after 11 or something like that. And that's important because as you do that every year, at least starts to show a trend if you have some cognitive decline. So it's very, very important that people get tested soon, or if they have suspicion, go get tested.
Yep. All right. Caregiver stats. That's the one that's amazing. I've known some cases here right in the city of St. Clair where a man was an executive and ran a company with 500 employees, and then he got the disease, and his wife was just an angel, is the only word I can think of, that stood by his side for the 8 or 10 years that it took for the demise of the man totally. But the caregiver is a tough job.
Oh, it's there's 11 million people right now that are caregivers. And the family bears roughly 70% of all the cost of that. And that's a ton, which is another reason why you want to make sure you get everything set up ahead of time. But it's 24/7. It's not like, well, in the morning I'll get up and see how my spouse is.
Right.
Because 60% of all Alzheimer's patients pretty early on will start wandering. They have this thing called sundowning system, or sundowning, where they'll get up in the middle of the night, and in their brain, I'm walking over to Billy's house, and they just walk out of the house.
You hear it out on the radio and in the newspaper from time to time, month after month, about somebody who's lost.
And that's very, very dangerous, because the statistics are if they're not found in the first 24 hours, the mortality rate is like 50%.
Yeah.
So you can imagine being a caregiver with everything, trying to deal with your loved one, and having to sleep with one eye open at night, worrying about it.
Tough job.
It's so demanding physically and mentally.
All right. How does the Alzheimer's Association help?
You know, that's one of the things I'm super proud of is that really, because the caregivers, they have this thing called a caregiver consultation.
Oh, that's important.
That's very important, because you can call early on and make an appointment. The Michigan office is on Telegraph by 9 Mile. So if you want, you can go in person, you and your family and your siblings, and say, here's where we are, what do we do?
How do we get through this?
How do we get through it? What do we do for this financial planning? What can we expect? What are these doctor tests? And what about driving? That's a big deal. I was with the Oakland County Sheriff's the other day talking about the driving issues and that. So you've got all that going on, and the Alzheimer's Association has the 1-800-272-3900, which is a phone number that anybody can call at any time of day and say, hey, I got a problem.
Help.
You know, I don't understand this. This is a clinic. This is what my doctor's telling. How do I communicate? I'm losing my ability to communicate. How can I do that? And it's staffed by professionals that'll give you like the straight scoop, and very loving and supportive. If there was one thing that I would tell everybody, is that the website is very simple. It's ALZ.org.
Yeah, I saw we've got it on our community bulletin board, and there's the slide, ALZ.org, and you know the phone number obviously will be on that webpage.
Yes.
So if you can just remember ALZ.org, you're in luck.
It's got unbelievable resources for people. You can click and drop and learn, you know, and at your own speed about communication, about the different drugs, therapies, what can I expect, all that kind of thing. And then while you're looking at it, you can call the 1-800 number and say, help me with this.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm really, really proud of the Alzheimer's Association. I want to make a special mention, because I reached out to the Dementia and Alzheimer's Association of St. Clair to see if we could, you know, work together and do something. And the executive director, her name is Lynn Wilhelm. And her and I met, and they have an event on June 3rd here in St. Clair. That's an all-day thing, an exposition, I think you'd say.
Joan London.
Yes, Joan London is a featured for real speaker. That'll be fun. So it's nice because the whole town could come out and talk to all different elder law, doctors, so forth. I'll be there to talk about.
I think it's up at the convention center in Port Huron.
It is,
if I remember correctly.
Yes,
and it's a great thing to have happen in St. Clair County.
It's wonderful for awareness.
Right.
You know, we went back to take a look. You know, there's probably 3,000 people right now fighting dementia in St. Clair. That's a great first step, is to talk in an atmosphere like that and get some real information.
You have spoken, as I mentioned, to many Rotary organizations around the state. Obviously, we're speaking to the county sheriff's group too. If people want you to come to their organization or their group, how do they get a hold of you?
I'm just tbot@yahoo.com, or they could probably call you as a result of this, but it's just tbot@yahoo. I'll come and talk to any organization, any group. You know, maybe you've got a business and you've got 8 people at lunch that you just want someone to talk for 30 minutes, and I'm there. I'm there.
Well, we salute you for the work you're doing, and my own mother had dementia, and I know the feeling of it, and I can feel for you. The work you're doing is really wonderful. So, finally, nice to meet you. Sir.
Absolutely.
Glad you came in.
You bet. Thank you, Paul.
That's about it for this edition of the Focus program. Thanks very much for tuning in. Till next time, I'm Paul Dingeman. See you soon.
Thanks for watching Focus with Paul Dingeman. Focus is produced at the CTV Community Television Studios in St. Clair. For over 20 years, CTV has captured the moments that matter to our community.